I call Eugenia Sage.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well, Nationals called Budget 2015 a plan that's working. It might be working for some New Zealanders, like Fonterra and the big dairy farmers who stand to benefit from the $100 million in subsidies for irrigation and more water pollution. It might be benefiting in a plan that's working for all the offshore speculators who are free to buy up residential properties in Auckland. It might be working for the big corporates who've bought off shares in our energy companies. But Budget 2015 and Nationals' economic policies aren't working for our climate and they aren't working for our environment. Because Nationals' only building an economy that works for New Zealanders who already have a lot. Nationals failed to reach a surplus this year, but even worse is the environmental deficit that it's creating for present and future generations. And the environment didn't get very much attention at all in the Minister of Finance's budget speech, and nor did the greatest challenge of our time, climate change. Our national icon, the Kiwi, was briefly mentioned, but even that had a strong element of PR spin and budget day smoke and mirrors, because the much vaunted $11.2 million, which the Minister is directing to the grandly titled Save Our Iconic Kiwi initiative, is being funded from DOC's Natural Heritage Program. It's not new money, and that program has actually been cut by $7 million from $166 million budgeted this year to $159 million in 2015-16. So more funds should certainly be dedicated to saving the Kiwi, but that shouldn't be at the expense of the 2,800 other species which are threatened with extinction. But that's what National is doing, because it's cutting conservation funding, not significantly increasing it. And DOC desperately needs more operational funding, and it hasn't got it. In the post-election briefing to the Minister, the department said, and I quote, "Effective pest control is the single biggest determinant of ecosystem health and biodiversity loss or gain." Yet less than 25% of the conservation estate receives interventions on key threats, and possum control, rat and stoat control is only done on 8% of conservation land, other than in the Battle for Our Birds year. So we've got the Kiwi population declining. We need a significant investment in conservation, in more pest control, but that's not what the government has provided. And that's, of course, in total contrast to its spendthrift approach. It's $46 million in subsidies to the oil industry. And what are we seeing with DOC? It actually having to reduce the area under sustained possum control from 1 million hectares in the current year to 785,000 hectares in the coming financial year. That's right, Mr Speaker, reduce the area subject to sustained possum control. That's despite the fact that the department's own advice to the Minister says that that is the key issue that needs more funding. And this Kiwi money, most of that only comes in 2017 and 2018, so it's not an immediate program. And what have we heard today, Mr Speaker? We've heard that the population of Maui dolphin is declining. It's fallen from 55 adults to an estimated 43 to 47 adult individuals. Maui dolphin could be extinct by 2029. The marine mammal sanctuary needs to be extended. It needs to have proper protection from fishing-related mortalities there, but we're not seeing measures in the budget to assist species like Maui dolphin. And then we go on to the climate, which was barely mentioned in the budget. I've been, Mr Speaker, to 2 of the government's consultation meetings on New Zealand's target for emission reduction. Everyone who spoke at those meetings did so with araha, with passion, with information. They were talking about our future for themselves and those who come after us. They want real action, real targets. And there was a strong sense of disappointment that the government has not fostered a strong national conversation about climate change and about what individuals, whānau and families can actually do to reduce our emissions. And it's not just at the consultation meetings where people have been calling for action. Motu produced a report this month that showed that 87% of New Zealanders were concerned about climate change and want action. So the budget is very disappointing in its failure to engage on climate. The government's certainly taken a small step towards a capital gains tax to try and discourage property speculation, but it has done absolutely nothing to put a real price on carbon. It's gutted the ETS, and the budget has nothing in it to stop Fonterra continuing to put in place new coal-fired boilers in its new plants like Darfield and its expanded plants like at Tandem. So all we're getting in the consultation document is the government making excuses on what the cost of real action will be, making excuses as to why our emissions at 17 tonnes are more than double the global average. And it's really disappointing that we haven't seen in this budget measures to help us make the transition to a low carbon economy. Instead, we get the government talking about the cost. And as someone at the Christchurch meeting said, the government talks about costs, but what cost do you put on the collapse of civilisation with a 4-degree rise in global temperatures? Please, Mr Grosser, don't talk to me about costs, talk to me about my children. This government is not investing in future generations. It's not investing in protecting our planet and protecting our climate. There's been a complete failure of imagination in the budget and in the government's whole approach to climate change. Instead of moving out of industries like dairy, it's focusing on encouraging and promoting industries like dairy and oil, which just increase our emissions rather than reduce them. The government's missing the chance to create new jobs in industries which can help us make that transition. It's missing the chance to invest in renewables. It hasn't got a plan for positioning us so that we're in a good position for the fast uptake of new technology like electric vehicles, and there's no real plan of transition. By spending up on motorways, by weakening the RMA to encourage urban sprawl, it's missing the chance to have compact, livable cities where it's easy to take a bike, to take a bus, to get on the train, and to have new residential development clustered around public transport routes. It's missing the opportunity to improve the health of the New Zealand population, to reduce obesity by encouraging more active transport. Yes, we have $35 million in this budget being spent on urban cycleways, but that is a pittance compared to the hundreds of millions being spent on new motorways. Mr Speaker, we can rework our economy for a better, cleaner future, which is innovative, which provides opportunities for everyone. But that's not what National's plan is about. The Green Party wants prosperity for everyone. We want to make that transition to a zero-carbon economy, and we've got a plan to do that. If it had been a green budget, we would have seen research and development tax credit, which would have...
Sorry to interrupt the honourable member. The time has come for me to leave the chair. Members, this debate is interrupted and set down for resumption next sitting day, and the House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow. Good evening.